hit the streaming button, hit the record button. Someday I'll use these clips for stuff, I'm sure. But they won't be today. Okay, adjust my chairs. My coffee so my keyboard tray doesn't bash it into the ground. Oh, you can see the holes in my shirt. Nice. It's okay, I'm always a mess. Today especially. Alrighty. Streaming. I get right to it. I didn't stream or put out any videos last week, so I wanted to make sure I snuck one in this week, but it's going to be a busy one. I don't know if I'll be able to do one on my usual Monday. So, Sunday it is. Yeah, I was sick all last week. Sucked. Still a bit sick, but healthy enough. I had beer last night, and I'm having coffee today. It's one of those colds that's just congestion after the fact now. Few fun things to talk about. So, I'm just going to get right to it after I pour this. Yeah. Alrighty. I got some new toys this week. And was given some new toys this week. And did some cool stuff last week. So let's talk about it. First things first. New toys for Dan. I was happy. So these subwoofers popped up local. They are Elite subwoofer 600s for some reason. I'm going to throw a bit of shade at the guy who sold me them. These are screenshots from his phone. You don't have to do that. You can just take the photo with your phone. I guess it would like that. And then use the file. Like this. I don't know. But these are an interesting little beast. By little, I mean heavy and large. Though for their size, they're actually pretty small. These are Yorkville Elite Subwoofer 600s. Now, those are a really, really annoying model number because the Elite 600 or E600 is this thing. So, yeah. Now, when I did a little bit of looking on it, I did manage to find some information, right? Every now and then there's ads for a set or for one. So this is in Canadian dollars. This is ridiculous. Never pay this much, even if it's in Canadian. In American, I think it's about $600, depending on the day. Might be less, but yeah, not worth that. However, now, Law McQuaid. This is our kind of go-to for most of Canada. We'd like to refer to them as the gentle giant of the music industry. They sell, even to me, I buy Yorkville stuff through the Yorkville rep, who is unofficially, like, they don't work for Law McQuaid, but Law McQuaid and them have like really, really strong ties, and yeah, it's a whole thing. They keep them at, I think they're technically at arm's length, but essentially up in Canada, Yorkville is like an in-house brand, essentially, for Law McQuaid is the best way I can describe it. But Law McQuaid still sells it to the rest of us. So Yorkville top speakers, I do have a pile of them. They're okay, but are very durable. That is the big thing about Yorkville speakers. If you want speakers that sound good, not necessarily great, some of them sound great, but always good. I've never heard a Yorkville speaker that I'm like, oh man, this is a bad speaker, but that you can throw off a cliff. They're a great brand. And yeah, hey, there's my sub, right? So if you haven't seen my video on it, These sell for like 2,500 new in Canada here, and are one of the best sounding subwoofers I've ever heard. The 212 let them go super loud, right? 129 continuous. That's pretty sweet. And have a pretty low 37 hertz plus minus 3. For 12s, that's great. 18s don't often go that low. But here's why I actually am on this before getting distracted. Unpowered subwoofers. There are less and less of these available in the prosumer market. I say prosumer, portable pro kind of starts to follow that. Basically, most companies that are making high-end passive stuff are focusing them on more like line array festival situations where somebody's using an like a major power distribution amplifier kind of setup and things like that. You're not seeing as many of these being made in general. And yeah, so these are the closest right now price wise. Oh, I have to blow my nose. 1 second. All right, back. Almost straight up lost my ability to speak because it's just weird congestion left over from this cold. But these are part of the YX series. They're their entry level. They're good, right? If you're a DJ or a sound tech and you're looking for cost effective stuff, again, this is Canadian pricing. In the US, I just wanted this. Live sound lighting. PA subwoofers. Does Sweetwater sell Yorkville? Hey, they do. Not a lot. All right. Well, I don't know who sells them in the US. I know Yorkville is available in the US, but that is kind of funny that they only carry the one model. Battery-powered subwoofers, they are a thing. I think I saw Nick Spinelli a while ago talking about them and how, oh man, somebody make a battery-powered subwoofer and they'll rule the world. The only other one that I'm currently aware of, I think I might have mentioned this. Because I am technically a Yorkville dealer, I very seldom sell their speakers, and if you buy them from me, you have to live in my small town because I don't ship. So none of this affects my bottom line, but I do want to disclose it. The only other unit that I have seen that does the battery-powered subwoofer thing as of late. Now, I could be wrong on this. Oh, man, I can't spell. Or maybe I was close. All right. These Wave 8s, even though I gave them a bit of crap. Did they used to list that? I gave them a lot of crap for their spec sheet. I wonder if it has improved since then. Doesn't look like it. All right. But, specs. Does it have a spec sheet now? Total power. Who knows what that means? 926. That's not bad, but yeah. This is the problem though. I have no idea how high or low this speaker goes, and I have no idea what actual SPL that puts out. 110 watts. I don't know if that's peak or if that is... No, that might be program/RMS or like what it's actually capable of, which would be nice, because bragging about 110 watts on a speaker is not ideal unless it is like a reasonable number. But $899. Oh shoot, I meant that to be in the other thing I opened. $899. So these mobile subs from Yorkville are the same price. 8-inch low frequency woofer. Yorkville is much better at providing actual numbers. Only goes down to 47. Life goes on. I'll show you why in a second. Excuse me. Actually gives me continuous and peak. Sweet. Birch/plywood. That's important for a subwoofer. Plastic enclosure subwoofer without saying how many hertz it has. Yeah. So this is why I was saying on the Alpha Theta one, even though I wish them the best, and this is a little unfair because again I am technically... Oh right, these are a 2.8. I thought they were a single 8. That's sweet. This is what I mean when I say I want better stats. It's telling me program and peak, continuous and peak. It's telling me a frequency response that, generally speaking, if they don't list what it is, hopefully is ±3. QSC, they break this rule, and I am annoyed at them for it. So there is that, but I still use their speakers, even though I'm annoyed at their spec sheet because I know they make good stuff. They just started manipulating the numbers. You losers. Wait, how is this 2.8 30 pounds compared to that Alpha Theta speaker that's 27? This thing's got birch? Man, I need to look into one of these. 116 is a little quiet. However, man, you throw something like this on a small system and it's battery powered. Yeah, I remember this thing being announced and I was like, I don't know, battery powered subwoofer, is that going to do? Those are pretty good numbers for how light and how compact this thing is, and for it being battery powered. A lot of battery powered stuff is not nearly as loud as that. But that's sweet. Anyway, I got a bit distracted, as is going to be happening today. Yeah, I got a pair of these. And if you remember, I was saying that price-wise, $500 for a passive sub, not too bad. The used one I found of these, 2 left at $750 each. Don't pay that. They're good subs, but I got my pair for $350 Canadian for the pair. That's about $280 to $300 American, somewhere around there. And it's great. I only pumped a few hundred watts in each of them and was getting my hair moving, just testing them out to make sure everything worked. As you can see from the photo, that's not the right plug, if you know these ones. They originally had, annoyingly and thankfully, this standard went away. At one point, we were using XLR for speaker cable, like speaker level, which I understand, right? The beauty of Speak-On and the beauty of XLR is it can lock in, right? So if somebody trips over the cable, it doesn't just go boom, and then you've got like a live cable sitting out in the ether. That is really nice. But Speak-On, now we use PowerCon, which I also am not a fan of. I don't like using the same style. Now, they may have I'm hoping. I haven't used anything with PowerCon. Well, I've used stuff with PowerCon, I'm pretty sure, but not. I haven't set up stuff with PowerCon in my personal system. I think it is a slightly different form factor, so you can't actually plug. This is actually a good question for Google. Are PowerCon and SpeakOn the same? But are the connectors the same? Keyed slightly differently. Haha. Thank you, Gray Loki. Sure. Yeah, I wanted to check that because that's always been one of my things. Is like a SpeakOn cable looks very close to a PowerCon cable, and the connectors look really similar. You don't want to start interchanging those, and you don't want to use the cables. I'm assuming interchangeably either. So, but previous owner put or the person before him, because again, if you don't know how to work your phone, maybe the guy doesn't know how to get out the soldering iron. But they soldered in this, and it is in the proper parallel output, in and out. So that was nice to see. So whoever put this in fixed the problem. But yeah, like I said, at one point we were using XLR. That was a terrible idea, in my opinion. I'm sure somebody out there will disagree. But yeah, these subwoofer 800s are really good for the price-ish. Here's the problem. Now, this is why passive speakers are probably going away quicker than a lot of people think, and why they're still useful in big events, because if you have a big enough... I'm trying not to snort into the microphone this time. If you have a big enough rig to power all of your subs and whatnot, and have a way like we're talking like $6,000 plus amps and stuff to run large array systems and the subwoofer array down below. Yeah, powered and passive, it starts to get a bit more popular again as you move up. I think subwoofer wise, most of the subs I've dealt with at that level have been... No, they were passive. They just used... It was weird. They were using a different connector that I'm actually not used to. But yeah, I've seen some... I helped set up a show that they had... Oh, what was it? I think they had 3 dual 18s aside with a line array ground stacked on top of them on trailers that we wheeled out. It was a cool system and loud. Oh my god. And yeah, setting that up was a lot of fun. But yeah, big subwoofers. And they were passive, but the amps for them, the amps that they used for them couldn't just be plugged into the wall, because they were pulling so much power each that, you know, your standard breakers going to run into some problems. They had to bring a generator, like a giant industrial one. It's like the size of a small RV kind of thing. Like it was wild. Real cool system. But I digress, which I'm going to. I was sick all week. I'm just a little bit sick today, as you can probably hear. But I wanted to talk about these because these things are great. But even at that $350 price point, like I'll take them over these, but I'll take a new one of these at $400 or $500 over the older Elites that I got if they were $750 each. So whoever that guy is, sorry, goodbye. Oh, we'll get to Daryl there in a bit. He's cool. It's not a drama stream. But yeah, these guys, this is why I want to kind of show it. So they cap out at 124, the sensitivity of 98, because their program power is 400. That is roughly what these Elites are going to probably get me. Because my program power is 600, but my sensitivity is roughly there. I did pop them out. This is one of the interesting things about the particularly Elite line, but a lot of the older Yorkville stuff. I think a lot of the newer Yorkville stuff is using Eminence. A lot of the older stuff was using, and I think some of it might still be, but look into it yourself. They were often using RCF, Italian made, blah blah blah, right? Like whether Italian made actually matters, but like I'm talking like those Elites. They're not using Chinese made or anything like that subs. Like they were importing some very high end pieces of equipment to throw inside of them. And these subs, they're dual ported, so they got a port on the top and bottom. It lets it have very little wasted space. Above and below the woofer itself, it's only a couple inches, and most of that is a port on the top and bottom. Previous owner, again, at some point, and I'm pretty sure it was the guy who had them before me. Or I almost have a strong suspicion that the guy who had them before me didn't know how to work with these very well, because, again, phone. Sorry, dude, if you ever happen to see this, I really doubt it. But these are like the carpet is actually, it needs a cleaning, but is in near mint condition. And the top here, let me zoom in any more than that. I'll do a video specifically on these, but they've been modified with an M20 little adapter there, and it looks DIY. I'm pretty sure the originals. Oh, I already closed that other terrible ad. I should have looked at the other photos if there was more. Pretty sure the originals didn't have that. They probably had, and I'll crack it. I'll pop these off and see, because I'm almost willing to guess I'm going to see a hole cut for just a regular speaker pole, because I think that's how they kind of used to do them. But yeah, these actually have very, very similar stats. Man, sometimes I kind of hate that. Sometimes it comes in handy when you're looking at a mixer or something and you're trying to zoom in. But actually similar specifications. I am always impressed at the less expensive Yorkville stuff for being able to maintain such a good particular level of sensitivity. But yeah, because I should only be pumping 600 watts into them. I'm going to get actually really close to this. Now, it is weird that I'm not used to 6 ohm speakers. That's always been one of the weird things about the YX subwoofer that they've had for ages now. But you'll notice, remember I was showing you that those 212s were reaching down to 37. Like this 18 is only reaching down to 45. Electro Voice has an option that's like $1,000. And similarly, 45 hertz, right? I was talking to a guy about pro audio versus home audio. Home audio stuff, like they're going to try to say, yeah, we go down to 20 hertz and stuff like that. Pro audio is going to say, yeah, make sure you cut everything under 35 hertz out, because that's eating up so much power output from your amplifier that you're not really going to notice or hear. That if you do a low pass, you can get rid of a lot of this unwanted stuff. That's actually one of the things I was a little bit annoyed at. One of my top videos is about a equalizer that has a subwoofer output, and the low pass filter on it, or the high pass filter rather, on it doesn't affect the subwoofer. That annoyed me a little bit. But this is one of the reasons why you will actually see a lot of passive subwoofers have lower SPL outputs on paper than their active brothers, where it's like the exact same speaker and everything, is because they can do things like putting in a high pass filter on the input to make sure that you're not putting in frequencies that are going to eat up more power than they need to late, right? Like the speaker sensitivity doesn't change, but you can get more out of your amplifier by removing unnecessary frequencies. But yeah, like they're actually saying, like, even though this thing goes technically down to 28 hertz at -10, they're saying, yeah, you shouldn't even worry about that. Get rid of that. Which is something I've always actually really respected about Electro Voice, is they give you those numbers. I really like that about a lot of their passive stuff. But yeah, like these passive subs at $1,000 Canadian each and stuff. Like these are some nice subs. ELX I think is one of their middle lines kind of thing. But yeah, because it's well, EK, no, these might be their entry level, and EKX being their next step up, and then it goes up and up. But I digress. There's any of these, right? Like even if we look at their higher end sub here, their EKX, which I haven't actually looked at this one. Still only 96 dB sensitivity, but can put out a lot of power. But that is peak, running at 1600 watts peak. Here's the problem. Again, and we're talking about this from a prosumer standpoint. I'm going to use that word slightly derogatorily, but it applies to most of my equipment. So if you feel like I'm attacking your stuff, sorry. But if I go power amps and crossovers, right? I go high to low. What's their most expensive? Oh, well, no, I don't want. This is where you get into. This is where you get into those. Oh, that's only 150 watts per channel. Those are all. Oh, those are like. I know what those are. But to actually put out the power that these subs need to run properly, when we're talking about subs that are asking for like 1600 watt peak and things like that, you're looking at something like this, right? This is, again, Canadian pricing, but any good amp, these are very good for the money. This is where you start getting into that territory of able to actually put out the power you need to make those subs run properly. So be very careful buying used passive stuff if you don't know if it can output what you need, right? Like, now this is a lot, 24 pounds to put out that much wattage at 8 ohms, and like Crown is rating these properly. Right, these massive QSCs, oh, these are such nice amplifiers. Both Crown and QSC are my go-tos. I am a Crown dealer as of late, so take that with a grain of salt. That's why I like to mention, even though I have my gripes with QSC and some of their spec sheets, their amplifiers, they don't mess around. They give you the actual numbers. 75 pounds. Oh, man. 75 pounds, but putting out the actual power numbers. This is another thing, too. If you're looking at a power amp, a couple stats to keep in mind. This is saying full range from 20 hertz. It can put out this, right? They're not setting one frequency and seeing how far they can push just that, right? Sometimes they take like 1,000 hertz, like a kilohertz, and just pin that and see how much power they can get out, and then they call it a day. Which you see down here, right? Some of these bridge numbers, 1 kilohertz can put out these numbers, right? So some of these are important, some of these aren't. The other thing on power amps, just to be aware of, a lot of the cheap ones aren't stable at 2 ohms. So they just won't have these numbers on the bottom. But these higher end ones are. Like, these are beasts. There's a reason why that thing has a fan bigger than the one in my computer. Man. Oh, that's such a good amplifier. It's beautiful. But when you bridge them, basically you're taking this 4 ohm here and saying, oh, well, let's combine that together. And it's sweet. The fact that This can do 2 ohm, means you can actually get into this territory. I don't know too many speakers that actually need 5,000 watts, even at the top of the top. That would be more. We want to power like 2 or 3 subwoofers. Probably 4 subwoofers in parallel. Which I think 4 8-ohm subwoofers comes out to. No, that would come out to 2 hertz or 2 ohms. So you wouldn't actually be able to bridge for that on this. But yeah, like this would be like we want to run a few subwoofers off of this amp, right? And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. But I point this out because sometimes these passive subs and passive speakers they can seem like a really good deal, but if you don't have the amplifiers to run them, you may have some trouble, right? Because like this QSC, this is getting into the territory of what I would need to run my subs. Technically speaking, 600 watts is what they recommend, but I think the RMS is about 350. So anything over about 350 is probably fine, but higher is better. So I would need like to power my $350 subs, I would need a $930 amplifier. Now, thankfully, I have a knockoff of this. And I don't say that lightly. I don't like to say that companies are knockoffs of each other unless they really blatantly did it. But, and Behringer, I probably shouldn't say it because they do have a habit of not liking that. But come on. Now, there's only so many ways you can design the front end of an amplifier. But can we just admit here where they got their inspiration from? But I've got one of these. Now, I will say, even though I think that, yeah, I think they copied the faceplate pretty, like, drew inspiration pretty clearly from QSC in this case. These are wicked amplifiers. I got one of these essentially for free. I bought the 2 EV speakers that I've got. They normally sell in Canada for $550 each new, and I got a pair for $450, including an amplifier. Now, I'm planning on selling off those speakers just because I have too many sets now, and I don't need 3 sets of 12-inch speakers and 2 sets of 15s. It's just too much for my rental house to worry about right now. Now, this is one of the annoying things on it. Now, I do say, good on you, B&H, for actually putting the 8-ohm number here. But in order to see the actual wattage on this is an annoying thing about the Behringer amps. As much as I like this amplifier, in order to see the RMS, I have to go to the manual and find the RMS. So it's putting up 500 watt RMS with peak power of 600. For free or for cheap, if you can find one of these things, those are actually pretty good. And to run these subs, it's kind of perfect. Now, I did try initially. I was running at 4 ohms and running both subs, and it did work. So if I was keeping my EVs, and the only reason I'm thinking of selling them is because I have other options. They're great speakers. What I would do, and something you can do on this amp, and I think this is why I really like, for the price I paid and for the price they tend to go for used, this is an awesome feature. And I don't know if they have them on the new ones. If they have them on the new ones, this is something to look into, because this is sweet. I know Crown does this on some of their models that have like DSP and whatnot, where you can adjust this. But this one has no DSP or anything like that. It's just a switch that lets you do it. You can run it at a 100 hertz low and high pass, and it's awesome. It sends all of your lows to one side, all of your highs to one side at 100 hertz. So you can run a subwoofer off of half of the amp, and then you can run your mains off of the other half of the amp. And at 4 ohms, at this point, everything's running in mono, which when I DJ, it's what I tend to do. Live sound, I like to have slight stereo, so I can do a little bit of a pan on the drums But mono is usually the way to go. Sorry, guys. This 700 watt number, peaking out at 1,000, is actually very usable for powering a set of tops and a set of subs. Don't let that wattage number throw you off too much. You have to remember how watts work. So, SPL calculator. Let's say mine are 98, because somebody told me they're around 98 to 99. We'll go with 98. And I'm putting 350 watts to them. RMS, cool. Close to a wall, 126. So I should be able to get 126 dB out of one of these subs. So with the pair, if I put them close to the wall, which mine, unfortunately for DJing, probably won't be, I'm getting up to 132, give or take, which is sweet. If you don't know how that works, I talk about it in a recent podcast. That's going to be coming out soon. If I double this out, let's say I'm putting 700 watts, I only go up to 129, right? So at 350 was 126. Every time you double your watts, you add 3 decibels. You have to 10x your watts to double your volume. So, because again, it works. I don't know if exponential is the right term, and my brain's toast today. So, yeah. But, yeah, so be very careful about two things when it comes to used subs, especially used passive subwoofers. One is going out and buying this $1,000 amplifier to power your used subs going to reduce the value of your purchase to the point where it's like, oh, is it actually worth it? If you have an amplifier, if you can find a good deal on a used one, because like used QSC amps do pop up pretty frequently. Used Crown stuff, depending on your area. My area, for some reason right now, I'm finding a lot of used QSC. And yet new Crown, some of these new ones are pretty good value for the money. But again, you have to factor that in against just buying a powered subwoofer or powered tops. The other thing to keep in mind is, especially when you're dealing with proper equipment that actually is telling you the numbers they actually do. I love this. It's quaint that a 26 pound amp was considered light, which it is, right? Like I think that other one we looked at was like 75 pounds or something. But the other thing you have to consider is wattage doesn't matter as much as a lot of people think it does, right? There's a reason why this 300 watt amp, which again, advertising at 300 watts, I'm actually impressed. They could have, and this is what most companies do, put this number out. It's an 830 watt amplifier. Ooh, right? This thing is only, big quotey fingers, only putting out 135 watts or 185 watts. But that is probably going to be some of the cleanest power, right? Same thing with those. The only reason I'm avoiding the Crown amps, again, is I sell them. So I feel a little needing I feel like I need extra disclosure if I talk too much about them. But yeah, these guys, 43 pounds. Ooh, that's some extra weight to have to haul in and out, guys. But it pumps, it puts power into things. But even then, that 1350 watt output feels low when you look at some of these speakers that are claiming to be putting out 1,000 watt, and then you look and it's like, well, actually they're running at about 350 watt, but the 1,000 watt is like the peak, or they can handle that, or like again the QSC curse where it is, yeah, our speakers, they're putting out 2,000 watts. That number is based on if speaker protections were disabled and its peak power. So it's like, okay, so we have no idea how much power your amp is actually putting out. Oh, and they calculated the SPL from it. Like, I'm going to harp on that. I will always mention that anytime I'm talking about it. That said, still recommend QSC amps. Still recommend their speakers. I just don't think their spec sheets are worth a damn. But I digress. Yeah. And yeah, some of these smaller ones, this one's what, 15 pounds? Or are these still pretty heavy? I can't even remember how much some of these smaller variations are, but some of these crowns get quite a bit lighter. Yeah, I'm a fan of some of these modern amps. But yeah, those are some things to keep in mind. I keep digressing. I keep going into other tangents. Oh, this is a terrible stream in some regards. But if you have amps to power them, is the long story short, used subwoofers can be a good investment. If you don't, double check that doesn't screw you over in the end. Passive also has some advantages. A big thing about passive is for installs. I also really like passive for stage monitors because it's less cables going across the deck. They also are, even though more complication on the initial wire up, they are quicker to set up. Not having to run power cables when it's cable in the back, it's running, it's done. Versus, okay, so I need to make sure I have enough inputs on my power strip, and I need to make sure I have enough extension cables to get to wherever I'm putting my speakers, and I need to make, like cabling for passive speakers can actually be very, very convenient. So there are still reasons to go the passive route, but some of this active stuff is just getting so convenient. All right, let's talk about Engine. Now, I did a video recently about how Engine desktop software is horrible. I stand by that. They need to fix a few things. But they have added a bunch of stuff, right? Like this is their news page. And all they really talk about on their news page is compatibility stuff, but also updates. They've been updating a lot recently. Some of the 2.0 and beyond stuff was pretty great. They really fixed a lot of fundamentals. Like, for example, on, I can't remember which update it was, but they added an EQ to the Mixstream Pro. Very, very nice for the microphones. They added a bunch of like touch effects and things like that throughout this time. Yeah, and now this was a big update recently-ish. It was that's almost a year now. Over a year now. And we've been in the 3.0 territory for a while now. But they've done some big changes. Yes, there was the touch effects. New main effects, I think, were for I think the den and stuff. I don't think they added a lot of those to I don't think they added a lot of those to my little Extreme Pro, even though I do quite like it. But they've added a bunch of stuff. The big thing they added, and I think it was it this one they added? Smart Lists? Yeah, Smart Lists was a big step in the right direction for library management. Fader Echo was cool. This DJ profile thing, I need to look into it more. For me, that might actually be really useful. Here's why. I'm moving into a multi-op situation where I'm going to have, hopefully, 3 DJs, including myself, but right now, 2, including myself. I'm not busy enough to really justify it, but at the same time, I have double booked occasionally, and the guys that I'm training up are going to be good for smaller events and stuff like that. So I can always make sure I'm on kind of more of the flagship event, but then carrying on. And the DJ profile could be really nice because if I get everybody hooked up with something like a I'll probably end up with a Denon myself. I'm waiting to see if they do a Prime 2 re-release, but I doubt it. So I might end up with like an SC Prime 4 Plus if I start actually making some income this year. The event side is growing, but I also run a store that has rent and stuff. So I've got a lot of overhead to deal with that you out there might not. So that's why. But oh yeah, and the song filtering features were really nice. So they've really stepped up a few things, but the DJ profile thing, that's what I was talking about. As a multi-op, that could be really handy. If you have settings and stuff, it just logs you in, gets all of your streaming stuff, I think, set up, and your any setting changes and stuff. So if I have, say, 2 or 3 Mixstream Pros, and then I personally have like an SC for whatever the 4-channel bigger boy is, or ideally a Prime 4, even though they're a bit big, I'm okay with that. I'm hauling around 18-inch subwoofers. I'm fine with a heavier controller. I kind of get it. Like, my backup controller is my little AMX, which may end up being, depending if I do end up with virtual DJ, which is a high possibility in the next few months. If I go that route, then I may not even bother with an SC for myself and might just use the Mixstream Pros for all of my DJs, because then I don't have to worry if they have been looking at something that is throwing a virus onto their computer. It's just, no, you guys, here you go. I know that it has the playlist for this wedding on it, because I can quickly add those playlists to the SD card that's on it. Well, bam. But yeah, so I've been really, really happy with the updates they've been doing to the units. I'm still unabashedly full of hatred towards the desktop software. It has so many problems. It needs a overhaul, like, completely, which I'm hoping is on the way. Because depending what happens with Serato, they may have to really up their game. But what I actually wanted to talk about today is this Engine DJ 3.4.0, now available. Bluetooth audio in and keyboard support. Now, I need to actually test. I think the USB ports always worked with keyboard support, but now a Bluetooth keyboard will work, which could be really handy, especially if you have one of those like little Bluetooth keyboards that like almost looks like a remote control. That could be really, really nice to go along with some of these for like doing searches and stuff, because that's where things are always a little janky using the touchscreen. I love the touchscreen for 90% of my navigation, but typing on a touchscreen always kind of sucks, especially if you're used to, on your phone, very few people on their phone are typing with their fingers. Oh, I have notifications. Do these matter? They don't. Look at that. Oh, one of those matters, but not to you guys. Yeah, if you're used to typing on your phone with your thumbs, and then you have to type on a touchscreen with your finger, it's just not the best. So that's cool, but I don't know if I would ever use it for that, because you can only have one Bluetooth device at a time. The Bluetooth audio is a big deal. This has been a long time coming, and I am stoked. I think this is a really good idea. Like, it solves one of the main problems with the Mixstream Pro. Doesn't have an aux in. For me, because of the way Tidal has been working as of late, and hopefully this is going to change with their new DJ features whenever they add those that I talked about in the last stream I did. Tidal doesn't have an offline cache for DJ stuff yet. It kind of does for virtual DJ. I don't know how that's working right now because I don't have virtual DJ, but I think that's coming for desktop. But I don't know if that. Hopefully, that finally is going to happen for engine stuff, because I think it was a rights thing, and it might have been the fact that I have a suspicion is the fact that the SD card is so easy to remove that I think there might have been some right stuff with that. Of like, well, yeah, it just you're putting all of these files on a chip that you can easily pull out the back and pop into a computer and then start hacking through, and it's just that seemed too easy. I don't actually know. I don't know what the rights issue is, because for some reason my phone and my tablet, I can download a playlist and have it on my phone or tablet. It's great. And I love doing that for dinner music. If I need a few hundred songs to throw on either shuffle, or if I want to curate the order or blah, 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 and I don't have all of them, I can just put a playlist together, right? Oh, we want lo-fi hip hop or something like that. Like, I'm never going to use these songs again. Why would I buy, 40 or 50 dinner music songs for like this event and that I'm never going to use again? That kind of thing. That's where Tidal really comes in. And I do a lot of barn work that I don't have Wi-Fi. And then I go and I pull my phone out and I try to get it to work, and it doesn't, right? Because they're just out in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, okay, I need to have that offline cache if I want to work this way. What I've been doing is running my tablet into a mixer into my speakers. I don't really think I should need to bring that mixer, or at least have it wired in at all times. I keep it as a backup for various reasons, etc. But this can solve that problem. It may become less of a problem for me. Now, for some people, it's, oh, I have to request that this song is only available on like YouTube, and all right, fine, I'll play the YouTube video or something like that. I like to not be able to do that. So I have been at events where somebody comes up to me, can you play this song? I don't have that song. I don't even have the characters on my keyboard to type that song in. I don't know what language that is. Oh, well, can't you just Bluetooth it? No, but now I can. So this Bluetooth thing solving, like I said, I can bring my tablet, Bluetooth it into my Mixstream Pro for dinner music. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, like I said, for me, that is awesome. I very much am glad that is a thing. That's kind of all they did, other than adding Bluetooth keyboard support. Now, this is an interesting thing. Here's how this happened. And I will say, good job, whoever engineered the software inside these boxes. As much as I gripe about your desktop software, this is pretty good. For the last however long, Wi-Fi chips have also just had Bluetooth inherently. It's getting to a point where it gets almost hard to find a good Wi-Fi receiver / transmitter that doesn't have Bluetooth built in terms of like the little PCI form factor, NVMe, I think it might be called, form factor that you get for like a desktop computer or a laptop or things like that. And that's what's built into these. They're running on like a cell phone style thing, but they're so likely an ARM based processor. I've never opened mine up to check, but the Wi-Fi card in here and you'll see this, they actually mention it on some of the stuff with these. The Wi-Fi app or Wi-Fi card, it just has Bluetooth built in. So somebody, because that's attached, went in and changed the firmware in the unit to be able to communicate with that, because it's already wired in. So they didn't have to go in like that. There's a reason you don't have to go in with a soldering iron and like add a piece or something. But there's also a reason then that some of the older hardware doesn't work with it. I don't know the full list. The stuff that seems to be affected by it is like real old Denon stuff that was like really early Prime. Like I think pre-Prime Go, like their media player stuff. Those might be post Prime 4 though. I can't remember, but there's a few things that don't have it, but that's really clever. And they mentioned this a long time ago. The only thing that annoys me about it is how long it took. Like I think it was a year and a half. But with their main competitor that's out now, the that Alpha Theta unit that has its own flaws. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I'm glad to see, because this is exactly what I hoped for. That competition pushed them to have to do it. The Alpha Theta one has more advanced Bluetooth integration by far, because it was native. It was like, no, as we're designing this unit, we're going to make sure that our Bluetooth integration is top notch. And I actually don't know how it does it, where when you go to Bluetooth a song, it pretty much loads the song in, and you can like scratch it and manipulate the song, and like it's great. This is a little more traditional, but I actually really like the integration of it. You can use this as just a third source. So you can just hit play on it and it goes up the master, and that works. And I could see that being really useful for an occasional song off of a phone or something like that. More useful, in my opinion, is you can have it be one of the tracks in your unit. What I mean by that is on my Mixstream Pro, it is a 2-channel unit, so I can make my left or my right deck. Well, no, let me rephrase that. My left or my right side of my mixer, like channel 1 or channel 2, getting fed by this, so that then I can use my EQs and I can use my faders and stuff like that. You can't scroll through the song and stuff using your jog wheels and stuff, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, because maybe they do have, because I know you can skip and play songs via your touchscreen or some of the buttons and stuff on the unit. So like it is communicating back and forth, similar to how like on your car steering wheel, if you have that up and down buttons and stuff, you can skip songs on Bluetooth and things. So again, it's integrated well. It's just not as crazy cool well as what they're doing with the Alpha Theta stuff. Yeah. Yeah, play, pause, or skip track using the touchscreen or hardware controls when connected to capable Bluetooth device. Song information, including title, artist, and time progression, is also displayed on the touchscreen for quick reference while incorporating Bluetooth. So it's not as crazy. It's not loading in like the you're not getting the waveform and stuff like that. It's more than I expected in some regards. I thought it was just going to be, it'll kind of work. So it's better than I thought they could pull off for adding a feature that didn't come initially, but it is not as advanced as the Alpha Theta stuff. I will be curious to see if they do a 2.0 or like a Mark II. Tinfoil hat time. Because much like how the reason this came out, like this was probably supposed to be part of a bigger 3.4 rollout, because like this is only a few months in between. They added a whole bunch of really cool stuff previously, and then it's like one change, and that's why there hasn't been a whole lot of news stories and stuff on this. It's because like it's one change that they announced a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago was coming. But Alpha Theta comes out, hey, we have Bluetooth. Isn't it cool? Look at this crazy stuff you can do with Bluetooth. Our competitors can't even run Bluetooth audio, right? They didn't say that out loud, but like that was the first thing I thought of, is like, come on, guys. You announced Bluetooth was coming to this thing how long ago, and now it finally is. And the reason this is likely happening right now is Alpha Theta. So my tinfoil hat suspicion is the Mixstream Pro 2 or Mixstream Pro Go Mark II. It's long overdue. I suspect it's coming. It might end up being something more like a or not the Denon Prime Go. There we go. My brain, because we already have the Mixstream Pro Go. The Denon Prime Go 2, or like Mark 2, or whatever you want to call it, is probably on its way. There might be like an SC2 Go on the way. I could see that as well, of just taking like the SC format and changing it a bit. But I suspect we have a Prime Go re-release or update in the future here. That is likely postponed to make sure that they knock it out of the park compared to the Alpha Theta, whatever it's called. I can't even remember the darn thing. Alpha Omnis Duo. Yeah, in Canada these are very expensive. In the US, $14.99. Den Prime Go is quite a bit less. Now, that is because it is older tech. The R&D's done. It is allowed to stay at 2020 pricing. Like it'd be actually probably difficult for them to raise the price at this point. How much is the SC? And then SC. Because I'm considering the SC4. Oh, SC2 dropped. Okay. And yeah, that's still, if you don't care about the battery, SC4 is looking very favorable, especially because it does now have some Bluetooth. It doesn't have the crazy Bluetooth, but again, Mixstream Pro, very good value. That's why I have it. Because for what I do, it's kind of perfect. But I would be actually curious to see what our next Prime Go is going to look like, because it is going to be more expensive. There's just no doubt in my mind that it'll probably be $200 or $300 more than it originally, like the previous version was, because I don't think they can keep up. Does this message matter? I don't think they can keep up the how much it costs to build the original Go. I think just manufacturing prices have gone up, chip prices have gone up, everything's a little more expensive, right? It's just the nature of the beast. Like Alpha Theta is kind of ripping the Band-Aid off by coming out with a very, like a $1,500 variant. What is the Prime Go going for in the States? Might not even tell me without doing this more manually. Oh, $1,000. Okay. So yeah, 1,500 versus 1,000. So they probably have a Prime Go Mark II. They now know the price they have to compete at. So they have to compete at 1,500. And they have to have something that will compete very favorably. So my guess is it is going to end up being closer to the Mixstream Pro's layout, where we have more traditional jog wheels with traditional pad layout, because that is what people kind of have been asking for. So I'm almost thinking it's going to be something closer to the SC without the speakers, right? Like if essentially, can I just get this bigger? Can we just, will this? No. SC2. Maybe I can just find it on Denon's website. I want a bigger, better photos. That's good, right? If we have this layout, but it is battery powered, they can ditch the speakers because it can reduce the size, and have some way that the screen can fold inside or something. So like it might end up making it thicker, but it's not taller, Because the other side of the Prime Go, it's not just that it's battery powered. It's not just that it is standalone. It's that it is small. So this will be bigger. They may even just keep they might keep the original. They may keep the original layout. I would like to see it with the screen able to fold up, right? Give you that angle. I know a hinge creates an extra point of potential failure. They'll probably move the pads down to a more traditional layout. But yeah, this size, right? Because if you look at as much as I love the Mixstream Pro, oh, my nose. This layout is super efficient for getting everything in, right? We have all of our treble middle bass stuff here. We have our crossfader and our mixer section all going on here. Paddles, I'll never go back if I can help it, for effects, though I don't use a lot of effects. And yeah, I may end up going more touchscreeny if I go virtual DJ, just because of that weird SM. I can't remember what it is. I have a $40 DJ controller that I got recently that may end up getting a lot of use. But yeah, like this layout, to me, even though it's missing certain things, I know some people are talking about a beat jump. I think they need to find a way to make the pitch bend buttons operate as a beat jump, and that'll solve some people's issues. Doesn't have aux in, doesn't have booth out. I don't care about booth out, but the aux doesn't have aux out, or aux in rather, has been somewhat solved. But yeah, a good overhaul to the Prime Go. I think it'll be pretty easy for them to knock it out of the park to compete with the Omnis Duo, but they've got to make sure of that. Other random things. I was on this guy's podcast the other day. Daryl Bennett, cool guy. Very chill. I met him just online very early in the morning. So we both were a little groggy, I think, at the time. But he has been great to deal with. Yeah, and he is nearly 5 times the size of my channel. Both in terms of content and in terms of subscribers. So it gives me a good amount of hope that when I get up to this amount of videos, hopefully I'll be somewhere in his ballpark. If you don't follow his channel, he has a lot of really good SoundSwitch tutorials in particular. Yeah, I think that is where he's going to have his biggest impact on the community, is lighting reviews, lighting concepts. Yeah. But yeah, he was great to talk to. If you want to hear me go off about audio stuff for a while, that should be hopefully coming up this week sometime. But yeah, he was great. I watched his. I talked about this actually last time I did a live stream because I was on my way on. He was at MEX, and he did a good video here. I recommend it. I think he did a short as well. That's another thing. I'll have to ask him about this. He's been doing a lot of shorts, some of which have quite a bit of views for like a DJ short, in my opinion. Right? Like he has some of these with like 3K views. Yeah, it's always funny. You can tell a concept versus a product, right? Like if he's showing oh, that's actually great. He's got like 8K on that one. But some of the stuff of just like, yeah, here's this thing. Will have like less views than like a specific product. Or he does have he puts a lot of his light show experimentation and stuff up on shorts, but shorts are tricky because I don't know how much they translate into like actual subs. The few shorts I've done have done pretty well, but now this is going to segue into two quick other sections. This past, why is SoundSwitch considered a musical artist according to Google? I bought SoundSwitch proper this past year. I was doing. I will say, if you have not tried SoundSwitch and are thinking about it, wait until November to buy it. And they just seem to always be putting it on sale. I do suspect that means there's going to be like a 3.0. I was doing the annual, and the annual was constantly being put up for 50% off on Black Friday. And it actually, it blew my mind. This was some of the best. Oh, it was so nice to see. My annual subscription at I think it was $40, like $39.99, something like that, or $39.98, I can't remember, was set where that was going to be my continual subscription. I changed it because I bought it because they had it on for $100. And I was like, oh, it actually, that was a tough call because that is for the 2.0. If they do put out a 3.0, then I have to pay whatever the upgrade cost is. So I took the chance on it this year because as long as I use it for at least 2.5 years as the 2 point whatever version, it was worth it. But I highly recommend giving it a try, especially in November. I'm going to do a video in October this coming year of sites to watch out for Black Friday deals that seem to pop up every year. This is one of them. But anyway, I highly recommend SoundSwitch. Oh man, this is terrible. This is really. Oh, my desktop audio isn't muted. Oh, hopefully nothing played or beeped in the middle of this. I did a drag show on Thursday. It was weird to be. Not the drag show. Well, the drag shows are always kind of weird, but in a fun way. It was weird in that it was a Thursday, but it was when they could get the venue. It worked out for everybody, etc. Because I think the performers are usually booked at they have a venue on Saturday night, so they couldn't get like a Friday or Saturday or something to work. So they did a Thursday in just a small town thing. For anyone who's curious, it was an 18+ event because I know that's like a whole annoying controversy thing that I have opinions on. I'm not going to voice them, but it was a fun event. It was a blast, especially because I barely had to do anything. I set up lighting. They had somebody to run a follow spot that I borrowed from somebody. I set up the sound, and then they had a sound guy who knew the music cues. I showed him how I had it wired in the board, and he just took over the board. So I was just there for, they're having a mic issue, or they're having, like, I basically was just a supervisor and got to watch the show. And it was a good time. If you haven't been to a drag show, at least this particular type of show was what I've heard a pretty common thing, where they dress in drag and then lip sync. There are some performances where they actually sing. This wasn't that, but it was you lip sync and you do like usually it's a comedy show. This particular one was like quite funny. They do a little bit of stand-up comedy-ish type bits in between each act, and yeah, it was just a good time. Yeah, but I was talking to their sound tech guy, and he was saying he also does the lighting cues at the same time. And I told him, oh man, you got to get yourself into some SoundSwitch. And here is generally why. Does this message matter? Or is this time sensitive? I'm playing D&D later. Oh, doesn't affect me. Affects the DM. Um, they use the same-ish songs every time, pretty much, right? They have a variety of songs because they want to make sure that if you are coming in, you're not hearing the same. Like one of the performers this year did "Heart of Glass" by Blondie, and it was a Cher tune. I can't remember what it was, but then they also did like a Lady Gaga tune, and the Lady Gaga one they had done the previous year that I had done sound and stuff for them. Similar situation, though I had to be a little more hands-on that time because my system wasn't as user-friendly. I've streamlined it because live and learn of like, oh, for this event, I need something that they can handle the system easily, and then I have to do less work. And they're happier. Everyone wins, right? It's always better if you can be lazy and the client is happier. Do it. But that's where this comes in. In these type of shows, right? If they're doing, say you have a performer and they have 12 bits that they're switching back and forth between, man, program it in on something like SoundSwitch. If you haven't used SoundSwitch before, it specifically works with songs. So whatever song you're hitting play on, it will just play and then do the sound it'll do the light show based on it. Same thing, they use the same intro every time because they're I don't want to get too much into exactly who it was because then it starts to show exactly what venue and stuff I was at and all this stuff because it's the internet and people are weird. Not even just about this stuff, but just in general. But they always have the same intro, and they always have the same intro music. You could program have moving heads doing like a whole thing, and you're not hitting a bunch of scenes and making sure everything's set. No, you can just have, when I hit play on this song, it does like a spotlight, it's funny. I just started doing this to try and convince my brain how to describe it, and now almost everybody probably knows exactly what I'm talking about. But that searchlight, moving heads aimed in the air kind of thing. Like you could have something like that set up just every time you play on there, right? Because there isn't as much work. On top of all that, I've been experimenting a bit more. I screwed it up for my last gig, but I've been experimenting a bit more with the auto scripting. Like actually going through my library and, okay, so for these songs, I want this setting. For these slower songs, I'm going to go to this setting. For these faster songs, I'm going to go to this setting. And like pre-scripting a whole bunch of tunes. That is really handy. And then something I learned from Mr. Daryl Bennett here that I'm going to start working on more now that I own the software is you can also do auto scripts yourself, which is really cool. The built-in scripts are fine, but I've seen some of his auto scripting, and yeah, like custom auto scripts is sweet. So for those type of events, and like, so if you run a drag show out there that has like X amount of performers and then they have X amount of songs, having something like SoundSwitch, even if all you're working with is par cans, right? Not having to remember, okay, so like I've got on my list here that when we do Bad Romance, I make sure we're using this color and like I can strobe at this specific time and things like that. No, you can program that all in and then you just never have to touch it again. And on top of all that, honestly, hit the auto script button with like hey, I want this style. I want like a lot of it to be super flashy and blah blah blah. And you hit auto script, you hit play. How does this look to you? And the performer says, "Oh, can we do it?" And then you go in and you do some minor tweaks, right? You just auto script it like until they like ish what's happening, and then you tweak it a little bit to make it a little more suited for exactly what you need, and then never have to look at it again. It's awesome, especially again because in a lot of these shows, they're either, if they're mobile, if you're bringing your own lights with you, you can bring a pretty simple setup, even if it's just par cans, and get a really, really cool light show out of it. Or you can, if you have a venue, you're not changing those lights out pretty frequently. You're set. So that's something that I learned this weekend is for these drag events. Yeah, I'm really happy with this, or I'd be really happy with running SoundSwitch on it. And yeah, I'm happy with SoundSwitch myself. I do intend, if I move laptop based for myself, I may get a Control One. I don't know yet. I have a Novation. What's it called? The big pad one. Not mixed pad. Novation launch pad. Now I've had a OG one. So instead of being like touch sensitive pads or whatever, they are like button style. So you have to hit them a little harder than I'm kind of used to after dealing with soft pads. Now I am an Novation dealer, so again, I have to kind of throw that disclosure out. But I got one on the used market because I could. I probably would have been happier if I'd bought a more modern Mini, because I don't need the full-sized launch pad for one, and two, they're on like Mark III or something like that. They've improved quite a bit over the years. But there's also this guy. The Mini, the APC Mini Mark II is a big go-to for running SoundSwitch because you can program the thing. Like you got all those faders and stuff on it. I think the Control One has some big advantages over something like the APC Mini, but the APC Mini I think has some big advantages for the more programming savvy. So I might actually be moving to one of those and then retiring my Launchpad to some other stuff. Again, especially if I do go the virtual DJ route with my AMX, there are some pre-scripted MIDI pad modes that I can set my Launchpad to do. So even though I don't have pads on my MPK, I can really get like a full-fledged system out of that, combined with the MPK and a standard audio mixer. So yeah, I might end up with a weird hybrid setup instead of going with a modern controller, and part of me is kind of fine with that. Because yeah, it's gonna be a fun setup by the time I'm done with it. Part of me also wants, because there's a guy I might just email him. There's a guy at Chestermere that has a mobile, just one of those mobile little Newmark turntables. It's not the Scratch, it's the original. The big difference between the original and the Scratch is the Scratch has a like an on-off essentially crossfader thing built onto it that gives you that feel of cutting in and out. Other than that, they're pretty much the same. So if I got that and then a 7-inch, I think it is, sized control vinyl, I could use that as a controller for if I wanted a feel of a jog wheel. Oh, it'd be so silly and so dumb, but it'd be kind of cool. It would be a really, really dumb setup. Part of me wants to do it. Anyway, so speaking of dumb things, like I said, I have a YouTube channel. I say thinking of dumb things, and I start clicking away from things, and I end up on DJ Daryl Bennett here. That makes me feel bad because, again, he seems like a really smart guy, and I almost feel like I inadvertently just called him dumb, even though I wasn't talking about him. But like I said, he's like 5 times the size of mine, my channel, because I'm sitting at I shouldn't show any information that I shouldn't be showing to anyone out there. If it does, oops. But I am sitting at now 517 subscribers. I hit 500 about 2 weeks ago. I had intended to do a stream when that happened, and then it didn't because I was sick. But I am better now, ish. And yeah, 5,000 versus 500. I was very happy that somebody like Daryl, who's 5 times my presence online, was like, "Yeah, sure. You sound like you'd have you sound like you'd have some insights into some of this stuff." This is always funny. My live stream numbers are kind of terrible, but I do get actually some good amounts of follow up. Recently, I did a video on some DJ setups, and that got a lot of views after the fact, a lot of comments after the fact. So I mostly do these to keep some presence when I, haven't had time to film anything. I've got a few videos in the tank that I should have put out but didn't. But I've got a few more planned. So I hopefully, now that I am healthy, though I have a lot of stuff up this week, so I'm hoping in about 2 weeks I'll be able to get back to my once a week schedule of video posting, because that really helped. So the things I've learned working towards this 500 sub number. Number one is consistency does really help. My view numbers spike up quite a bit. When I go to my analytics here, anytime I post videos, I do get this giant spike here. Every now and then I end up on like a front page kind of thing where I will get a lot of views on one video for a couple days because it starts recommending me because I've been posting more often. And this has happened about 2 or 3 times where all of a sudden I'll get like 8 or 900 views in one day. Which now my usual views per month is 5,000. That's average now, which for a 500 subscriber channel isn't bad from what I can tell. And that should go up, but it is, it's very all over the place. So I did, my Engine DJ is hot garbage thing a few weeks ago, and it has like almost no views, but then that video that did really well has like 1,000. So some of my smaller videos, yeah, this one, I don't know what happened here. This actually was like probably one of the more important videos that I've ever done on how a setting in my Canon ruined like 5 of my videos, but nobody watched it. I don't know. These speakers and stuff did really well. Now, something I have noticed, right? I did that speaker review, and it had pretty good retention, decent like to dislike ratio, and few comments, quite a few views for, again, a channel my size. But when I did a unboxing on those speakers and had, where was it? Yeah, I did an unboxing, quite like worse retention, not as many comments. This I had way worse audio. Video on it was fine. And it's always my recommendation. And not only am I an audio channel in general, but so that is something that matters. But I highly, highly, highly recommend at all costs, make sure your audio is good. A lot of people are second screening things. A lot of people are like there's a lot of stuff going on when it comes to keeping your audience retained. And from what I have felt, audio is key. I recorded quite a few videos just on my phone that got tons of views, right? For me, again, 1,000, like 1,500 views isn't all that, I'm not going to be bragging about that at any point. But I recorded that on my phone, but with a decent microphone, and it worked, and that had a good amount of views. Same thing, the Akai here, less views, but then funny enough, my review of those microphones, yeah, interestingly, and this is something else. If you're getting started in this stuff, right? We got 9,000 views on this video. This is the funny, like, it's such a weird thing with this channel. Oh, it's so strange. I'll have 38 views, 72 views, 9,000 views, 2,000 views, 38, 4,000, 400, 700, 31, 1,400, 2,500, 1,300. Like, it's a roller coaster. But some of my best performing videos, one of them is this Behringer EQ. Nobody else did a video on this thing. There's very few good videos, period, on it, but on a lot of audio gear. But there was like no videos on it whatsoever. So if you look up this EQ, my video will be like the first one that comes up. Now, if I go analytics on it, I'm willing to guess it is a lot, like almost all searches. Because that's something that they tell me. Is that our audience? Watch time from subscribers, 0.5%. All over the world. Oh, I don't need that. I need Beck, I say. But unique viewers. Oh, I got a bunch of subscribers off of this video. I think maybe it's under reach. Here we go. Browser feature. Traffic from homepage. So it was getting recommended to a lot of people. Suggested video, but yeah, search almost completely. Like 35%, the vast majority comparatively. Not the majority of views, but like the highest percentage of stuff was from search on it. That is something I've noticed about doing videos on more obscure products. Not even all that obscure, right? Like this UI 16 mixer I did a review on recently, and I am happy to see this video here. The analytics on these are comical to me. See this here, this giant bump where in a few days, there was a couple days where it went from like 29 views over the first. And this is why I often hear like, oh, if video doesn't do good on the first day, it's going to do horrible forever. That is the case on bigger channels. On small channels, don't worry about it. That's something I've learned. If you're a sub 1,000, probably even a sub 5,000 subscriber YouTube channel, stuff will just grow over time. But somehow it ended up on like a recommended video after like 4 days of just nobody watching it. Now, I am happy to see this video is starting to get some traction. Because this is, I think, a far more important video. There's a whole bunch of reviews out there for this mixer. This one I got into, here's how to, and yeah, this is always comical. Like, how user retention, I'm actually surprised that like almost 50% made it this far. That doesn't actually happen on a lot of videos. Period. But oh yeah, 16 hours of watch time. Okay. Which is good. I need more watch hours. That's something I'm missing for monetizing the channel. I have enough subs now to actually start, but not enough watch hours. But that goes up as you put out more content. Anyway, that is one of like that video is far more useful in my opinion. And in terms of views has just been trickling up and up and up and up and up. Didn't have that big spike, but I think is a more important video because it really gets into, if you aren't familiar with that mixer, Soundcraft dealer here. And speaking to Soundcraft, if they ever happen to see this video, one of the biggest mistakes that they made with the UI16 was putting a fairly inexpensive Wi-Fi chip in it. Like we were talking about the Alpha Theta, or no, before that, Denon. The Denon DJ stuff and the Newmark stuff, how like they had to pick which Wi-Fi chips and stuff they're putting in these. They put in a fairly inexpensive one by the sound of it, and it has caused some problems of sort. But then some of them I don't think are actually the UI16's problem. I think it's just because it is a weaker signal than some of the other options that your phone or your tablet are going to see in the room, depending on the space that you are working in. They've had a habit of it kicking out. Not so much that like the unit is disconnecting, it's that your phone connects to a different Wi-Fi signal and stuff. Has been my experience. I've had really, really good luck with my UI16, so I wanted to clarify what I think the problem is. And the again, like a lot of people who've watched this video have actually really liked it, but it's a pretty small video. But yeah, so like I said, the big things I've learned if you're starting out, here's what I've learned in my quest for 500 subs. And I only have 52 videos. Well, 50 because I think the first 2 or 3 are privated. Just because they're either old and terrible or where I wasn't using this thing to make like videos like this yet. But here's what I've learned. Number 1, audio matters far more than video. A lot of my first videos, first video I ever put up on this channel was this guy. Well, second video I ever put up on this channel. Oh, this still has affiliate links underneath. Those don't work anymore. It is standard definition quality. It is still one of my most watched videos on my channel at like 10,000 views. And it just was slowly but surely. So when you're a small channel, video doesn't matter nearly as much as audio, for one. Like I said, that video does not look good. That was filmed on that was filmed on this camera I'm looking at you through right now, my old Canon T2i that has a glitch on its video recording chip, and I had to replace it with my Canon SL3. Yeah, that has its own set of problems, but I'm plugged in USB and doing like a standard definition webcam feed. So it was this, which looks good because it has a good lens-ish, and the color quality that Canon picks up is really nice. So that's why you can actually see my lamp behind me. Although in person it is a lot more blue. I don't know why it comes out purple on this particular camera, but yeah, I come out pretty well. I come out in focus. The color quality is good, etc. But this is only roughly, I believe it's 540p, so it's a little bit ahead of standard definition. But nobody seemed to care. Any of the videos I've done where the audio quality is bad has a big drop in retention and in like versus dislike ratio, right? Again, this one here, lots of views, I've got a few comments, but like to dislike ratio is lower because the audio isn't as good. I was using a lav mic that wasn't really good. Same thing in that other video. Any videos I have that have good audio quality tend to have a better like to dislike ratio. Second big piece of advice that I kind of poked at. If you are putting out videos and they don't do the best to start, you're probably fine. This video has 7,000 views. Analytics. Here's its lifetime. It had, after almost like 2/3 of a year, less than 1,000 views, and then had like a big spike. I can't remember exactly what happened here. And then just kind of trickled up. Another big spike. This is almost 2 years in, and it had like this big uptick, right? So if you're recording stuff like a review for a product that is sort of an evergreen content, right? Like this light is not going out of style for a long time. It's just going to keep having some. You're going to keep having some jumps. This was another one. This one has 5,000. It's funny. It is telling me now, oh, you might want to consider, like, I think at some point it was telling me to maybe consider removing it because it wasn't doing very well, right? I've had 1 view in the last 48 hours. But take a look at this. I love this. So first year, less than 200 views. Somebody else did a video on DJ lighting, and it got recommended, and it went from under 500 after year and a half ish, year and a third, to over 2,000, then trickled up to 3, and then somebody else did a thing, and it jumped again, right? So don't be too afraid if you put a video out and it doesn't do well the initial time or initial day you put it out. It's fine. It sometimes, right? Like I made this acoustic foam video years ago. It still only has 19 views, no likes, nobody cares. I don't care. It sits there. At some point I should probably get rid of it. But then I have other ones that are in the 5. Like, these videos just grew over time. This is a sign to me that I need to stop talking about DJ and PA gear and start talking about guitars again. Because the highest viewed video on my channel is one of the better guitar reviews I've ever done. So that's something. But anyway, that is what I've learned on my quest for 500 subscribers, which I have now. So yay me. Like I said, I'm well aware these live ones they don't do very well. They do get a bit of views after the fact. And it does show me a bit. Like, so for example, I did this live. It had 2 viewers and then jumped to 50 viewers after I was done streaming it. So, or 50 views after I was done streaming it. That tells me I should probably do a video on can you use car audio for DJ and live sound use. That might be this week, right? Same thing. I did a thing on building an audio PC in 2024. That one, again, has been going up over time, which is weird for a live stream. Most live streams, once they're done, they tend to sit, right? That's what you would expect. But those have been getting views because that topic interests people. So I can use these even though, like, this one is going to have horrendous viewership because it's just me ranting for 2 hours. But yeah, your mileage may vary. I hear my fiance in the other room, so I'm going to go say hi and call it there. So for the few people who stopped by the chat, I'm hopefully going to be back to Mondays as of next week. We'll see. Because Mondays are a much better day for this stuff for me.